Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to episode 86 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike from Hull Car Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at the 2006 away shirt. Yes, finally a shirt that we have not covered before. Now, it's been a little while since I've been able to provide you with a shirt review of a new shirt within my collection in terms of not owning that style of match-worn shirt. Now, this is one that it wasn't even used that frequently back in 2006. Now, I've been doing some shirt trackers. I've not quite got back as far as 06, but when you really break it down, this shirt, it just wasn't used that frequently. So to find a match-worn representation of the shirt, for me, is an absolute massive win, because it's something where it's one of them where you think, I probably won't ever find it, but luckily enough, I have been able to do that. So the 2006 away shirt has got sort of 4 different colours to it. We've got the blue front, which is more like a royal blue. We've got the navy detailing, which starts up at the collar and then works its way to the armpit and then down the side of the shirt there. We've got red, which is red piping across the bottom, up the sides, and then we've got the red detailing going on up here on the turnover collar and on the V-neck front. And then we've got a little bit of white as well, which is obviously the sponsors and the maker marker up there as well. So yeah, 2006 away shirt. We have got the turnover collar, which is something that was quite prominent during this era. Obviously, we saw it in 2007 on both the home and the away shirts. So for us to see it on the 2006 shirts as well, absolute beauty. It was also on the 2006 home shirt. On this representation, it has been stitched down on the sides. You can see, I can get my finger in either side of there because they haven't quite stitched the front down, but they have stitched all the way from the front base point here all the way around to the opposite side to keep that collar down. The reason why they stitch it down is so that in the tackle, it's harder for somebody to grab this than it would be the flailing bit of a turnover collar fabric. It is quite a regular thing that if a plain shirt does have a turnover collar that is stitched down. Now, that isn't always the case. We saw with Salford in 2022, they didn't stitch theirs down. I actually saw some players actually turn the turnover collar inside so that it wasn't actually visible from the outside. So there is different ways and techniques of controlling that. We have got in this red V-neck reinforced stitching. On the inside, you can see it quite prominently in the sense of that it's got a big white bit of fabric behind it. I'll pop some pictures up there for you so you can have a look at that whilst I'm talking about it. Now, the front of the shirt, and I found this really, really interesting because when you look at it, you've got the Carlotti branding, which appears sort of on the left shoulder there. It's in a really unique place, not something that you would see too frequently. But then the club crest is kind of not positioned fully on the above the heart on the left side there, which is where you would anticipate this just being a few inches this way. Obviously, if you look where the SOS Office Supplies logo starts and finishes, and then where the club crest is, it is maybe just sort of inset a little bit too much. But again, it's just a quirk that this shirt has. We have got DMQA rail, which has been heat applied to the front of the shirt there as well. These are obviously in white and heat applied. Really scared about washing it because I feel like that'll just absolutely crumble off. So this is something that will be well protected and likely not washed. As we take a look around to the sleeve here, both sleeves on this shirt are identical. We have got the large Lloyd's TSB logo with word mark included that has been heat applied onto the sleeve. The sleeve is all navy, but it has got that red piping that then forms into the royal blue underneath as well, just to add to the aesthetics and the detail of the shirt. I love the way that shirts from this era, most notably 06 and 07, were constructed whilst we were with Carlotti. Quick look at the other sleeve, identical to the other one, so there's not really too much more for me to be able to say about that, but again, it is in really good condition, and I think that is likely down to the fact that this shirt wasn't actually used that frequently during that 2006 season. Okay, we'll take a little bit of a look at the back and after the break, but before that, here is a word from our sponsor.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to episode 86 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, as you'll be aware, we was talking about the 2006 away shirt, and whilst you was watching that clip, I have spun it round for you to be able to now see the reverse of this shirt. So, the reverse of the shirt, as you can see here, we have got the continuation of the detailing that we saw on the front, with the red piping and the blue stitching that kind of gives the shirt that little bit of curvature. I love that. Absolutely brilliant touch. You'll notice that this Lloyd's TSB has been heat applied. Now, it could have maybe gone a little bit higher up, but because of the shape of the curve to the shirt and the size of this Lloyd's TSB patch, if it had been too much higher, it would have probably have gone over the piping, which would have then meant that it would have peeled off because it wouldn't have had the correct level of contact point that it needed to be able to successfully stick to the shirt. Ideally, this would have been a little bit smaller and a little bit higher up, which would have then allowed for the number to be able to sit on the shirt a little bit higher. As you're looking at it, that number does look a little bit low to me, but again, it was kind of because of that sponsor being either incorrectly sized or incorrectly placed, it does make it that little bit harder, meaning the number does have to drop a little bit lower. In 2006, that was the last year that the club just used shirts with numbers on the back and not names. As I mentioned in episode 85, we did have squad numbers and names on the back of the shirts from 2007. Similarly, to the 07 shirts, we have got Hull KR, which has been embroidered into the neckline of the turnover collar there. And again, as I said earlier, this has been stitched down. And then at the bottom, we've also got Pride of East Hull, which has been heat applied. And you'll be able to see that there's quite a bit of peeling going onto these numbers down here. Now, this is something that is very common. I think if you look at the shirts from 2005 and 2006, and what I mean by that is I mean the replica versions that you guys will have bought in the shops or you may have bought on eBay or other online sites at a later date. A lot of these are very heavily damaged and mostly it's the colour that disappears. But on this scenario, you can see that it is really peeling. So as I said just before the break about not washing it, that's another reason why I'm keen on keeping this one as intact as possible. So as you can see here, this had number 2 on the back. So number 2 would have been one of the starting wing spots. Now, as I've said, I've not been able to fully identify which games this shirt type was used in, let alone this physical shirt that I've got in front of me. But what I was able to do is narrow down some of the away fixtures that we played. Now, there is a chance that we may have worn a home kit in an away fixture, which would obviously mean that this information is sort of null and void. But it just gave me a little bit of an idea who might have wore this shirt. So when I did my research, I came up with the fact that Leroy Rivett wore number 2 on the road the most times, 6 occasions, and then Jon Steel with 5. So the chances are that it was probably one of those two that did wear the number 2. But also the Welland brothers, Liam and Chris, on separate occasions, both featured for number 2 on the road for the Robins during 2006. So there is the potential that one or even both of those wore this shirt as well. But again, I am going to have to find a way of trying to redefine my information to get a little bit more sort of accuracy on that level of information. So that's been the tour around the 2006 away shirt. Hope you've enjoyed seeing something very new to Talking Shirts. Like I say, a lot of the recent episodes I've been covering shirts that haven't necessarily been of a unique nature into the sense of that we've not given it the Talking Shirts treatment, as I like to say in the past. So hopefully I've quenched your thirst for something a little bit new here in episode 86. Now, normally in 2 weeks I'd be back with episode 87, but however, I'm going to slot in a little special edition. Now, a special edition episode of Talking Shirts, we've done some in the past. We've covered shirts that have never been seen before. We've covered shirts from the ladies' game. We've covered training shirts. But on this occasion, I'm going to bring to you a prototype that I don't think many people know exists. Now, I was fortunate enough to find it on an online website, and I picked it up and I did a little bit of research, and then I asked a few questions to the people at the club, and we have identified that this is a prototype shirt. Now, a prototype shirt is a shirt that went into production to produce one as a sample to see if the idea was going to be then put into fruition to generate for a style of shirt. Now, for one reason or another, this shirt was rejected. and there was just the one made. Now, somehow I managed to find it online, completely unintentionally, just on my daily searches, but I'm really looking forward to bringing you that in the next special edition in 2 weeks. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check back in a couple of weeks to check out that very special edition of Talking Shirts. Bye for now.